So we are much beyond the Almata's health definition in our health system, including public health. And what is people is basically written, it is the supremacy of the Constitution. So all powers of the Republic belong to the people in our health system, including public health. And what is people is basically written, there is echoing. So all powers of the Republic belong to the people in our health system. Hello. And what is people is basically written, there is echoing. So all powers. Hello. এটা ইকো হচ্ছে আমার কথা in our health system. Hello. Okay. And what is people? Okay. Hello. 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 Hello.
You are getting some noise. I'm not sure. What
Yeah,
is that
there is an echo.
There's an echoing noise actually.
Yes. Okay. Can I continue?
Yes, it's clear now, sir.
Yeah.
Now it's
So-
better.
So, people's health, there's a box below. It says people's health is equal to people's well-being, physical, mental, social, not merely absence of infirmity. People is sovereign. All powers belong to people. Anything contradictory to people's
স্যার আপনি কি আনমিউট হতে হবে?
Sir, you are muted.
সরি যা হওয়ার আপনাদের এখান থেকে হচ্ছে, আমার এখানে কোনো প্রবলেম নাই।
এবার ঠিক আছে স্যার।
Thank you. So, I'm skipping because of the time. People's health in our supreme law. What is the political economy? In our supreme law is the Constitution, 71. State guarantees. It's a guarantee from the state, sovereign guarantee. Number one, all citizens' medical care, assistance in illness or disablement, radically transform public health is in the Constitution. Second, all citizens' health is birthright. Third, state's policy priority in health financing would be like this: public finance through health, through state-owned enterprises, institution, entities, then cooperative, then private. It has been reversed. Fourth, people's health shall not be a commodity for buying and selling in a free market. And free market is neither free nor poor friendly. Finally, there is a box. Any neoliberal free market ideology or policy in health is anti-constitutional. What is the Bangabandhu's vision of people's health? Let me tell you very frankly. At the very outset, I said I'm a truth seeker, critical truth seeker. We saw many centenary special supplement in the newspapers. Nowhere it is mentioned. These were the Bangabandhu's vision of people's health. First, people's inalienable birthright, health. Health is a basic right of every citizen. Public health is public good. And as public good, it is the responsibility of the state to provide it. Third, health is a tool to establish social justice. And it is Bangabandhu who said very categorically, abolish all paid services and need for strong decentralization. So, there has been, and Bangabandhu's vision is very categorically mentioned in the first 5-year plan document. uh, you can see the page numbers and etc. etc. Health as social justice and must be corrected. Basic right of every citizen. No sense, non-productive, and free health care must be provided to the poor and needy. Number 4. Then all paid services will be abolished from government medical institutions in order that all patients will receive equal care and attention in each public institution. We forgot, after the killing of Bangabandhu, we forgot this in our government medical institutions. And 5th, too much decentralization of authority has made implementation difficult. It's still true. And very importantly here, in the first 5L document, the basic strategy, which is number 7 here, shift from curative to preventive. You all are talking today about the preventive. Bangabandhu understood that 50 years back and shift the delivery system from individual to community, whose basic unit will be the family. Students of all institutions producing health manpower, I know Humayun Kabir will be speaking on manpower, must be oriented towards community medicine by reframing the syllabus, which should include training in community medicine and comprehensive healthcare through actual fieldwork. It is not done. And is written on page 22 that equal partner of the doctor's nurse team. And nowhere in the 32 pages of the first 5-year plan document on health sector, nowhere private sector healthcare is mentioned. Please, you will be discussing, I know 6 sessions will be there, they will discuss all these things. Then what happened with the killing of Bangabandhu? This is what happened. Ziaur Rahman came to power. First 5-year plan was from 1973 to 78. Ziaur Rahman did a 2-year plan, 78 to 80. And the first thing in the 2-year plan, you see, introduced a new line item in financing. The name of the line item is military health services. Military health services. It was not there in the first 5-year plan. And introduced the concept of lowest possible cost. No issue on cost was there in the first 5-year plan because health was seen as a right, inalienable right. Now in the second 5-year plan, it all talked about, it is a prescription for wholesale privatization. Whatever you see today is started from 78 with the 2-year plan, followed by the second 5-year plan, which gave you the neoliberal free market ideology or policy towards health, which is, to my mind, anti-constitutional. So, in this box, I'm trying to show politeconomic essence of great deviation in health, public health and health financing after the killing of Bangabandhu. First, from citizen-centric to subject-centric healthcare system. Who are the citizens? Any person in an Indian independent country. Who are the subjects? Any person in a colony. Second, from health as basic right to health as commodity. Third, from health as responsibility of the state to health as responsibility of individuals in the market. Fourth, from socialistic pattern of healthcare to neoliberal free market oriented panacea. Sarborogher oshud. Fifth, from state responsible system to privatized system. Sixth, from decentralization to centralization and over centralization. Now, how healthy is our nation's health? A lot of talks will be there, and I am interested in talking here indicators to measure healthiness of people's health. There are 4 broad dimensions. First, health inequality. Second, diseases of poverty. Health system. I know Mustaq Reza Chaudhary will be talking about health system strengthening. Which health system, I don't know. And finally, health financing, which is my area for today. But I have preparation for everything here. Health inequality, I am not go to this, but just only one in the health inequality. Health inequality is an outcome of anti-people political economy. Examples, there are a lot of examples, just one example here. There is no valid official data. No valid official data. Whatever the DG Health says or whoever says, no valid data. Take the example on longevity, a misunderstood story. Governments are always complacent with increasing longevity, which is an average or mean figure. However, mean or average in a class society is meaningless because it hides the reality. It is comparable with economists and politicians' complacency. We have heard about the complacency in the inaugural session, and pride with the increasing per capita income and or increasing economic growth. But what if increasing per capita income or increasing economic growth rate is accompanied with much higher growth in inequality? The story of longevity is no different. What is the essence of, say, 75, 80 years of longevity in a situation where in a country of 170 million population in Bangladesh, we have the following health status. And this is, I think these figures are conservative figures. 6.8 million cardiovascular or heart patients, 1.3 to 1.5 million cancer, with 2 lakhs newly diagnosed each year, 8.4 million diabetes. If people from Badas is here, they will say 15, 16 million. 7.5 million chronic kidney disease. Yesterday, from the Bangladesh Kidney Foundation, I collected another data. They say the total kidney patient is 18 million. And annual kidney failure death is 35,000. 17 million thyroid disorder, 52 million any rheumatic disorder, of which 13 million need osteoarthritis, 17 million asthma, 4 million children with asthma, 30 million hypertension, may be much higher during COVID-19. So what is the moral and ethical public health imperatives if the following is true? In our country, most patients needing bypass surgery cannot afford the surgical treatment. Those who somehow manages to afford had to pay out-of-pocket expenses on average 5 lakh taka plus many non-monetary costs. However, the same in Cuba costs out-of-pocket only 9,000 taka and government provides 80,000. And the case fatality ratio in Cuba is one of the lowest in the world. The answer is socialism, which is also one of the 4 pillars of our constitution. So we need to talk about healthy longevity, not just longevity, where system matters. And in the third session, plenary, Mustaq Reza will talk about the system, how to strengthen the system. In this slide, I just want, because my chair is Dr. Shahidullah, it might be important for the chair and the public health professional. Neonatal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, even maternal mortality rate, all 70 to 80% higher for the poorest income quintile than the richest group. Why? Why is that? Poor rich, number 4, you see, poor rich ratio in morbidity for most diseases is above unity. You see the figures 2.04, 2.21. So poor are disproportionately morbid than the non-poor. Then there is WHO people are here, disease of poverty. So 8 diseases of poverty. tuberculosis, malaria, STD, HIV, measles, ARI, diarrhea, maternal and perinatal conditions, and arsenocosis. So what does this disease of poverty means? The probability that the poor will be attacked by arsenocosis is 11 times higher than the probability for the rich. This is one of many. So let me jump quickly to inequalities in health-seeking behavior. You know, the two broad components of, sorry. No, let me go to this one. Because of time, I can send you everything to you. Inequalities in economic burdens of ill health, because we are talking about financing. There are two broad areas. Cost due to quality differentials across poor, non-poor. The DG Health, Mr. Alam, talked about the rural areas and so on and so forth. And I said at the very beginning, this is official speech. So the president of the association, Shah Munir, was DG Health also. Now today, if we ask him the same question, he will reply differently, truthful reply. And we had that interaction. And the second part here, coping cost to health shocks, which is a catastrophic care. There is poor, non-poor gap is highly pronounced in case of being bedridden from acute and chronic illness. There are three dimensions: loss of employment, financial costs, and household coping with a sudden illness shock. This is important as percentage of income. Poor spend more in health than non-poor. And health-related shocks constitute 40% of all shocks experienced by rural households. COVID-19 increased the economic burden of coping with health shocks by poor, lower middle class, and also by middle class. There is a why poor people do not visit public health facilities. There is a barrier model, economic, financial barrier. There are 5 basic barriers. Now I'm coming to my last 4 or 5 slides. Public health security system, do you have any? Dr. Ahmed Mustaq Raja Chaudhary will deal with this, but we need to raise the right question. Do we have any public health security system per se to protect national health security? My answer is no. Why? COVID is one of the best examples. Now the second one, national health security consists of 6 broad categories, according to Johns Hopkins report on Global Health Security Index. And this is the report. This is self-explanatory. Please look at this report. In terms of public health security index, out of 195 countries, Bangladesh ranks 113. And score is 35. 100 is total, 0 is worse, 35 is a fail mark. And you see, on many, there are 6 broad areas. And the prevention on biosecurity, global average is 16, ours is 0. Biosafety, ours is 0. Dual use research and culture of responsible science, ours is 0. Data integration between human, animal, environmental health sectors, 0. Exercising response plans, 0. Emergency response operations, 0. Linking public health and security authorities, 0. Communication with health workers during a public health emergency, 0. Infection control practices, availability, equipment, 0. And all zeros. Overall, you have 35 out of 100. No comment. You do the comments and exercises. Secondly, the third one, top-down over centralized pyramid structure itself is part of the problem. We need decentralization, devolution of authority and responsibility, and it is not just a governance issue, keeping the pyramid intact. Public-private imbalance is evident in financing. And whenever we talk about public health system or health system or public health security system, all rest on inherently wrong premises of market and etc. etc. How would you put money value of benefits against exclusive breastfeeding, good nutrition of mother, prevention and children, prevention of accidents and injuries, safe, clean, potable drinking water, hygienic sanitation, swearage, EPI, early detection of non-communicable diseases, reduction in NMR, IMR, etc., etc. In all cost-benefit estimates in health projects, we conveniently, that's how I say it, I'm not an economist, we conveniently ignore externalities, social, environmental, political, or at best include the positive ones and exclude the negative ones to show our project of interest is beneficial to the society, forgetting the true meaning of society. So health financing is last part. The book titled We Are Our Brains, From the Womb to Alzheimer's by Dick Schwab, a globally acclaimed brain researcher, physician come neurobiologist, argues everything we think, do, and refrain from doing is determined by our brain. We don't just have brains. We are our brains. Our brains are programmed. This is true when we discuss health financing, which is dictated by our brain. Invariably starts with national health accounts and then follows financial sustainability, cost benefits of projects, willingness and ability to pay, demand for and supply of services, market efficiency, customers or clients' choices and preferences, perfect competition, private sector efficiency, public-private partnership, donor-driven, now we call development partner, operational plans, all are flawed. In any discussion on health financing, our brain is programmed to play with all those categories. We conveniently, our brains are programmed so last almost 50 years that in these health financing discussion, dialogues and debates, we conveniently forget basics of Bangabandhu's health vision. Free healthcare to poor and needy, abolish all paid services in the government health facilities, public health as public good is state's responsibility, health is a birthright and basic right of every citizen. Things have changed. So are our brain. We have money for tanks and banks, but not for people's health. Health has become a commodity, most lucrative with ever-increasing market. In financing for health services, we are caught into the trap of triangular syndicate, super duper untouchable syndicate, targeting the health seekers. The agents of the triangular syndicate, for this, the health services trap are doctors, irrespective of public and private, owners of diagnostic centers, hospitals, clinics, and the pharmaceutical companies. People's health is subordinate to this rent-seeking syndicate, aided by so-called regulators, in this case, government. Next, the pharmaceutical market is booming, while people are becoming pauper and poorer due to health poverty and health shocks. In every year, this is WHO work. In Bangladesh, 5 million non-poor people joins the rank of poor due to health-related causes. Then who benefits? Cui bono of Cicero? The triangular health syndicate. The present size of pharmaceutical market in Bangladesh is 30,000 crore taka, and the projected by me and is taken by the Pharmaceutical Association by 2025, 26, $6 billion US with an annual growth rate of 12%. Who loses? The people to whom all powers belong, powers according to the Constitution. Now, approximately how much people pay for health? Annually, 25,000 crore taka. This is my estimation based on national health accounts. However, it is half truth, a half glass full or a half glass empty estimation. The actual amount of people's annual health expenditure would be at least 50,000 crore taka. This estimated 25,000 crore taka is a gross underestimation of reality. And NHA is methodologically flawed. Why? Because NHA do not consider the definition of health of 1978. It doesn't include treatment in foreign countries. It doesn't include mental health, such as depression, etc. It doesn't include anything close to well-being, health as well-being. So according to NHA, $12, people spend 67%, and government 20%, NGO 13%. But in 1972, I take the NHA as truth. According to NHA, people out-of-pocket expenditure 67%. In 1972, it was 90%. This contrast is an outcome of great deviation from Bangabandhu's health vision and the constitution, and rise of neoliberal market-oriented ideology of health services after the killing of the father of the nation. It is a plain truth. Why the officials who in the inaugural didn't say anything about this plain truth? Now, how much money a poor patient pays or need to pay as OPD and IPD by visiting public health facility? This is my study, okay, 2019. So there are three types of expenditure. Poor people, this is poor people. When they visit the public health facility, they pay something in the facility, then they pay in the private clinic or pharmacy, and some services are undone. Doctor prescribes, patient don't do because want of money or they don't think necessary. So what is the average thing, pattern here? It's here. What is the general pattern of total health demand from public health services? People get only 3% of the total health demand from government as subsidy. Only 3%. People pay 85% of the total health demand to private sector, and 12% of the total health demand is undone services. So in public health facility-based services, poor people subsidizes the private sector. Then government expenditure in health. This is one of the most gloomy scenario in the health sector. A shame, with rank position 188 out of 189 countries. Our position is 188. If the health sector secretary is here, health minister is here, finance minister is here, let them talk. This is not my data. This is latest data from UNDP. So the green ones are medium HDI countries. The blue, Italy, is very high HDI, Human Development Index country. Tunisia is a high HDI. And red, Afghanistan and Mali, is low HDI. So what you see here, government expenditure on health as percentage of GDP. The global average is 10%. Ours is the lowest, 2.4%. Even Afghanistan, Mali, 3.8%. Afghanistan, 10.2%. Why don't you challenge it? Where is health? That's why I said there's money for tanks and banks, not for the public health. Now, my last slides, suggestions and conclusion and suggestions. I have three broad conclusion and suggestions. First, recognize reality. We need to get out of syndrome of denialism, syndrome of complacency, and political myths in health. We need to recognize and internalize the following. Number one, the core principles of health and public health after killing of Bangabandhu in August 1975 have dramatically changed or reversed overnight, which are contradictory to the supreme law of Republic, the Constitution. A reversal is needed. I expect I'll be there from the next plenary speakers, what they talk about it in the manpower and strengthening. Second, very important, there has been a total commodification of health. This commodification has made ill health or sickness a liability to common people, an asset to the triangular, unholy, rent-seeking syndicate of doctors, diagnostic centers, clinic hospitals, and pharmaceutical industries. There has been a regulatory capture. People's health needs shall be reinstituted as citizens' individual birthright, basic human rights. It is an issue of political commitment. Third, the gross deviation from the idea of public health as public goods and therefore withdrawal of state responsibility has catastrophic impacts on people's health well-being for today and tomorrow. Fourth, the public health security, as evident from Global Health Security Index and state of prevention and management of COVID-19, is non-existent in Bangladesh. There is a need to institute, this is my proposal, a separate directorate of public health safety and security. In addition to two directorates, we have DGHS and Director of Family Planning. Broad area, second, act on truth. If these are truth, act on truth. Health is not just human capital. It paves the way for respectful human dignity, ensuring human, individual, and social well-being. Therefore, investing in people's health shall be assigned with the topmost or highest with education priority. Such investment shall be seen not as expenditure, ব্যয়, এটা ব্যয় নয়, as policymakers they say while talking about budget, but as productive investment having intergenerational, positive, social, economic, cultural, environmental, and political impacts. To materialize investing in health, following are proposed. I have three proposals here and I'll close it. First, increase the current health budget of around 70,000 crore taka to 210,000 crore taka, at least 3 times higher, and subsequently in the next 5 years, reach equivalent to 7% of the GDP, not to 3%, it's now 2.4, 7%. Second, the incremental amount which I'm proposing to increase must be spent based on priority areas, including Upazila and below, keeping in view proactive decentralization and reaching the poor and marginalized people, including children, women, mother, elderly people, reducing health poverty and health inequality. And third, changing pattern of diseases from non-communicable diseases, which is cancer, kidney, diabetes, and cardiac, overtaking the communicable diseases, and burden of ill health, example, preventive care and environmental health, must be considered in future health financing and related planning. The last slide, can we make it? Yes, we can, if we want. It is an issue of political commitment, coupled with people's spontaneous participation. Let me conclude with a common sense view about government. Government governs with or without the consent of the governees, those who are governed. The governees in Bangladesh are not subjects. They are subjects in the colony. They became citizens in 1971. They are citizens. And all powers belong to them according to the supremacy of the Constitution, Article 7.1. And the last point is, government has no money of our own. Government has no money of our own. Government collects money by imposing tax and tariffs from governees. Then government spends the money as they wish. They take decisions about whether to spend on tanks on banks or on people's well-being, including health, education, social security. It is called fiscal policy. This choice of any government in Bangladesh ideally should be in congruence with the spirit of our 1971 liberation. At the same time, to take care of people's well-being. I am in the last slide, please. I'm concluding. At the same time, to take care of people's well-being, government needs to control inflation. There is an echo. At the same time, you have a technical problem over there. At the same time, to take care of people's well-being, government needs to control inflation, enhance real wages, which they do by controlling money flow, which is known as monetary policy. Now you doctors, you know now fiscal policy and monetary policy. It's not rocket science. Now it is absolutely up to the government, any government, as to whether they will serve the interest of the 90% people who are the source of 80% of the government earnings, or to 10% population at the top of the ladder who are the source of 20% government earnings. It is simply a matter of interest of the governing class. I thank you all and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful talk on financing on health sector. Dear participants, from now on, our chairman of this session, Professor Dr. Shoidullah sir, will continue. But I have an announcement. Our parallel session A will start just after this session, and parallel session B will start just by 5 to 10 minutes. We will start our parallel session B. Now, I would like to request our president, sir, to continue. Thank you. Chairman, sir.
Thank you, Professor Anwar Hussain. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Abul Barakat for giving us a trajectory of health system in this country since liberation. And I think I have taken one very important point that he mentioned about the longevity, but we shouldn't say only longevity, we should say healthy longevity, and there the system matters. Now the time for presentation by Mr. Humayun Kabir. We all know him, ex-Secretary of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, a person who ran the show very well during his time in the ministry. And he's going to talk on a very important topic, that is human resources in health sector. I will request Professor Anwar Hussain to say a few words about Mr. Humayun Kabir. But before that, we should be keeping in mind that today is Jummah day, and there is Jummah prayer. You have to finish in time, and after that there is a parallel session. So actually, to accommodate everybody and to make it a very smooth kind of a program, I would request all the next two presenters, if you can make it precise. Thank you. Over to Professor Anwar Hussain to introduce Mr. Humayun Kabir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Humayun Kabir sir started his career in Bangladesh Civil Services and served in different ministries in different capacities from 1981 to March 2013. He has served as Managing Director, Sadharan Bima Corporation, Secretary, Election Commission Secretariat, and Senior Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Bangladesh before retirement. After retiring from the government service, he has been keen in social sector activities, public health policy, and application of modern technologies in government organizations. He has facilitated many successful e-government initiatives, and his current work involves digital health and implementing electronic management information systems under the Directorate General of Family Planning, which is gradually being scaled up across the country. Currently, he's working with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, USA, as Senior Strategic and Tactical Advisor in a project supported by USAID. Sir, Professor Humayun Kabir sir, I think I can share your slide now.
Okay, thank you. So Respected chair of this session, can you hear me properly? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir,
Sir,
we
you
can.
are very
So,
much
yeah,
audible.
okay. So respected chair of this session, Professor Dr. Mohammad Shahidullah, President Bangladesh Medical and Dental Council, co-chair Professor Dr. Abdul Rahman, former director NIPSAM, moderator Dr. MD Anwar Hussain, and other speakers, Professor Abul Barakat, Dr. Ahmed Mushtaq Raza Chaudhry, and distinguished participants and people who are attending over internet and Zoom media. So I shall be, and first of all, I give you a brief outline of my presentation. And next slide, please. So we'll start with the background. Next slide. And then I shall discuss about the HRS landscape, and then I shall argue that HR issues are well known. And finally, we'll discuss about how we can look at changing the scenario and what is possible in the short term or in the long term. And I'll conclude. So the background, I won't take much time because we are conscious about the time constraints. So we know that Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is responsible for policy in health policy and implementation. And most importantly, they are supposed to play the stewardship role, which is of ensuring leadership and governance and for the overall health system. Secondly, we all know that the Ministry of Bangladesh Health System is facing lots of challenges, is also under a crisis due to COVID-19, but it is also aiming to achieve SDG goals and also wants to move towards universal health coverage. The ministry also manages service delivery. I think Professor Barakat discussed in detail about about our health system. Our general perception is that it is weak, and it not that it is weak for the time being. Maybe it has been going for long. We also have some many government issues, but we have to remember that it is not only limited to health sector. We have issues with other areas as well. So Minister of Health and Family Welfare follows a sector-wide program approach, and they follow. I am still on this slide, and a strategic plan which is called sector plan, and it is a 5-year time frame implemented in 5-year time period. But you know that it can sometimes it is extended. So currently it is in extended period, and it is important for us to know that the HRS issues are addressed through the sector program, and we also know that HRS is essential for proper functioning of the health system. This is also one of the building blocks. So what is the health landscape? We know that we have large public sector infrastructures. Recently, the ministry was divided into 2 divisions. I am not sure whether it has created opportunities or constraints. And but we also have now, we used to have a Director General of Health Services and Director General of Family Planning. Now there is a Director General of Medical Education, and this has implication for medical education as well as for service delivery components. So primary healthcare in rural areas, we have a very large community level infrastructure, and the government also manages secondary and tertiary hospitals, and private sector, we know that's growing in importance over the years. So, but it is also recognized that public sector healthcare is not accessible to everyone, and if people, there are equity issues, those cannot afford, they seek service from informal providers and sometimes do not seek services at all. So the private sector has also given rise to the commercialization reflected by cost and diagnostics. We can also relate it to deficiencies in service delivery. And there are also equity issues. These have implications for HRAs. And we also expect that there are a role that could be played by regulatory bodies. Next slide, please. So what are the HR situation? Actually, these are well identified and well documented. And I will paint a broad brush picture here. If you, because the data relating to the health, HRH and others is available in the health bulletin, which the last one was 2019, but also with WHO as well as in many research publications. So, and also I would argue that this is well known to the policymakers because we find that these are present in the situation analysis in the sector program documents as well. So what are the country capacity to produce health workforce? And if you look at the health policy 2011, you will see that it envisages the balanced human resources for health approach comprised of physicians, nurses, midwives, technologists, physiotherapists, all. While the positions have improved, the ratios still tilts towards the creation of health workforce, mainly physicians. The good side is that we have that a cadre of midwives have joined the government service in the meantime. Public sector medical education institutions have been increasing, and it is now 37. There are also 6 medical colleges run by Bangladesh Army, and 73 are in the private sector. So medical universities are being added, and 2 have been created. There could be many more. So, but you have to remember that medical institutions, especially colleges, are cost intensive, requires cost. And that's why you see that there are issues with cost and time overrun. And we also recognize that there are more capacities now in terms of production of medical physicians in the private sector. And they have actually overtaken the public sector. And eventually there will be a situation we'll face that government public sector jobs will dwindle, or in that case, whether the question would be whether public sector could absorb all the fresh graduates in sufficient quantities. So there are issues with internal issues as it is managed, and we know that the recruitment continues to be done, but the vacancy situation does not improve much. And you can say that there are the vacancies are reported in the DGH's website, and I know that there are more than 30% positions in the community level positions are vacant. And if you look at the Upazila health complexes, they have long suffered due to the position of anesthetists, and even if the government is not run to properly the basic EMOCs due to absence of anesthetists and other. If we talk to I was looking at a newspaper clip where the association said there are many anesthetists, but they are not recruited, but again, there are vacancies. And also, you can see that consultant positions are more in the Upazila level than the general doctors. And so these are the situation. And also another cause could be the large number of vacancies is due to deputation. Those allowed to pursue higher education are made OSDs and could lead to vacancies in critical positions in rural level facilities. And that also means that there could be some attachment of doctors which deprive rural facilities and benefit urban facilities. But we also know that postings are often dictated by political or other pressures from peers. So other extra-organizational considerations contribute to the weakening of the organizational performance. An inherent weakness in facilities, I talked about the skill mix, and also you can see that there are not sufficient delegation, as mentioned before, delegation, and also another issue could be the rigid structure. There is another issue is that the rigid cadre structure, because in terms of recruitment and promotion was also actually government, the position promotion was under the purview of a public service commission, but that was changed in the last previously. And also rural rejection, we can look at the rural retention of the change and location and vocation people talk about. So there are, if it is looked at with some reform approach, maybe you can find some solutions. And there is no incentive for the doctors. So that is another thing. And it is possible to look at those issues, especially the teaching basic subjects as well as and other shortages. So there are actually a scope for thinking about the incentives and issue, but at the same time, the shortages actually impact the performance of organizations. We hear that the line directors of the DGHS complain about the HR issues and others. These also are identified in the performance of the public sector. HR, one is dual practice, which is serving both public and private. It creates a problem if the official time is allocated for attendance in private sector. Absenteeism is also an issue. The biometric methods and technological interventions are not effective tools for probably that much. And people also sometimes complain about negligence. On the other side, the doctors or physicians have found that the security at workplace is an issue. And we have seen that there has been attacks on doctors, even that went to the High Court. So, and also during COVID-19, doctors have faced occupational hazards. Overall, all these situations affect the service deliveries as well as qualities of service. And some of the situations, we think that regulatory bodies could intervene, and it is possible for them, at least when looked from the views of the citizens. I think there is no mechanism for redress of grievances of the service seekers. Next slide, please. So it would seem that all there are, because in the short span, I tried to cover some issues, but it is not possible to go into the details. But some people say that should we be talking about reforms? And I'm not sure that whether there is serious appetite for reform, and a status quo is beneficial for some. If you do a rudimentary stakeholder analysis, you will see that there is Ministry of Health and departments and Minister of Public Administration, Finance, with budgetary issues and others. And I think another important is professional organizations. What kind of reforms can you achieve? And private sector, they also have strong bodies and regulatory bodies and citizens. I haven't done any power and influence metrics here, but you can see the citizens are the weakest, but all others have some sort of a strong control. So, but if you are looking for reform, then we need leadership and political commitment and a stakeholder management. Without that, reform could be difficult, major reforms. But you can look at incremental reforms. There could be some low-hanging fruits and which can be realized in the shorter time frame. Vacancies could be one, plus medical education, deputation we have talked about, decentralization could be one, that is giving the power of transfer to districts or divisions or districts, an incentive structure, because there are other government agencies who have incentive structures, so it is not impossible. And the mechanism could be incorporating within next swap. So I am not talking about HR plan, which is a long-term vision. Definitely, it will be good to have a HR plan as well as a health workforce strategy for the period of the swap. But if that is not possible, we can look at some priority action plans within the sector program, and also there would be government support in terms of finance. Finally, I would argue that we should give citizens a voice, and the regulatory bodies can play a role. That could be at local and national level, and should cover both rural and urban areas, public, private, everyone. Next slide, please. So I have come to the end of my slide, the final one. I think the strong, can you go to next slide? I think we have some technical difficulties, but anyway, I think these we can identify some small reforms, incremental reforms, and definitely with under the stewardship role of the Ministry of Health. So I conclude here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Humayun Kabir, ex-Senior Secretary, Minister of Health and Family Welfare. Because of the shortage of the time, we could not hear the most complex issue in the health system, I would say, the human resources. I think the most complex. I have been serving with the government and also in the now university for 40 years, but this is the subject which is most complex, and we need to focus on that. Now it's time for the deliberation by Dr. Ahmed Mushtaq Raja Chaudhary, who is the convener of Bangladesh Health Watch, and his topic is also very important, that is health system strengthening. I would request Dr. Ahmed Mushtaq Raja. I know that if we would be very happy that we could ample time, but because of the shortage of time, we'll make your deliberation as precise. Now I would request Professor Anwar Hussain to make a brief introduction of Dr. Ahmed Mushtaq Raja Chaudhary.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. For over 4 decades, Dr. Chaudhary has contributed enormously to global health research, education, and practice. He has served BRAC, the world's largest NGO that reaches about 120 million disadvantaged people, as its vice chair, executive director, and research director. He also worked as a fellow of Harvard University and as senior advisor and acting managing director for the Rockefeller Foundation. Currently, he holds a professional appointment at Columbia University's Merriman School of Public Health. He is the convener of Bangladesh Health Watch and senior fellow of the Bangladesh Institute of Development Studies. As an institution builder or excellence, he founded BRAC's Research and Evaluation Divisions and the BRAC University James P. Grant School of Public Health. In addition, he played a key role in creating the Mekong Basin Disease Surveillance Foundation, encompassing Cambodia, China, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. The Lancet published his profile in 2013, recognizing his global contribution.
Professor Mushtaq Raja Chaudhary, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the long introduction. Honorable Chair, Co-Chair, Moderator, and also my fellow speakers. It's a really big opportunity for me to speak to all of you. আমি জানি যে আজকে এই সভায় বাংলাদেশের সব পাবলিক হেলথের সব জ্ঞানীগুণী লোকজন সমবেত হয়েছেন, কাজেই এটা আমি এখানে কথা বলতে পারি আমি নিজেকে অনেক ধন্য মনে করছি। আমি আমার স্লাইডগুলো যদি একটু দেখানো যায় তাহলে ভালো হবে। ফার্স্ট স্লাইড প্লিজ।
কথা বলার সময়
Yes, sir.
আমি চেষ্টা করব আই এম মাইন্ডফুল অফ দি টাইম কনস্ট্যান্ট সো প্রফেসর শহীদুল্লাহ I will try to be brief
Thank you, brother. I know.
শহীদুল্লাহ ভাই আমি I know him for
But
a long time
আপনার কথা শোনার জন্য তো আমি আগ্রহ নিয়ে বসে রয়েছি।
Oh, thank you.
Sir,
Very
your
kind.
slide is okay, ready.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So আমার আজকে বলার কথা হেলথ সিস্টেম স্ট্রেংথেনিং, তবে আমি যেটা একটা বাইলাইন বেছে নিয়েছি সেটা হলো যে টার্গেটিং হাই হ্যাঙ্গিং ইস্যুস, সেটা এই হেলথ সেক্টর রিফর্মের ব্যাপারে। তো এইটাই হলো আজকে আমার কি বলে প্রেজেন্টেশনের মেইন জিনিসটা। আমরা জানি যে গত কয়েক দশকে আমরা উই হ্যাভ সর্ট অফ অ্যাটেইনড এ লট ইন হেলথ, এবং যেগুলোকে বলা হয় যে উই হ্যাভ বিন এবল টু ডু দ্যাট বিকজ বাই sort of harvesting some of the low hanging fruits. কিন্তু এখান থেকে যদি আমরা if we want to go further towards the SDG and also to the vision 2041, আমাদের we have to be very pragmatic এবং we have to be trying to pinpoint some of the high hanging issues so that if we can address those, we will be able to achieve those big vision. Next, please. Okay. তো আমার আজকে প্রেজেন্টেশনের মেইন জিনিসগুলো আসছে এই দুইটা পাবলিকেশন থেকে। একটা ল্যান্সেট, আমরা জানি যে বাংলাদেশের উপর একটা সিরিজ করেছিল, that was in 2013 and I had the opportunity to be part of that. Also I will be using some of the information available from the 2016 Bangladesh maternal mortality and healthcare survey, এবং আজকের আমার এই প্রেজেন্টেশনের মেইন কেস স্টাডিটা হলো যে maternal health. Next, please. So maternal mortality ratio আমরা জানি যে সবগুলাই সূচকেই আমরা ইমপ্রুভ করেছি, কিন্তু ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটিতে সম্ভবত আমাদের যে অর্জনটা সেটা হলো মোস্ট স্টার্টলিং। তো আমরা তো এই 1980 দশকেই আমাদের ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটি রেট ছিল 650, যেটা 2010 সালে গিয়ে 194-তে পৌঁছায়, এবং 216-তে এই 6 বছরে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে আমাদের অর্জনটা জিরো হয়ে গেছে অলমোস্ট, যে দি কার্ভ ইজ ভেরি ফ্ল্যাট। তো 2010 পর্যন্ত আমরা অনেক অর্জন করেছি, কিন্তু এরপরে আমাদের অর্জনটা অনেকটা স্থবিত হয়ে গেছে। নেক্সট প্লিজ। তো এই যে 2010 পর্যন্ত আমরা যে অর্জনটা করলাম সেটার কারণগুলো সম্পর্কে অনেকেই আজকে বলেছেন, এবং এগুলো মোটামুটি জানাই আছে যে আমরা উই হ্যাভ ইনভেস্টেড ইন ইমার্জেন্সি অবস্ট্রাকটিভ কেয়ার, যদিও সব জায়গায় করতে পারি না, কিছুটা করতে পেরেছি আমরা। তারপরে প্রাইভেট সেক্টর এক্সপানশন হয়েছে, যদিও এটা সম্পর্কে অনেক ধরনের প্রবলেম আছে, যেটা প্রফেসর বারকাত বলছিলেন। And then particularly আমি যেটা প্রতি একটু জোর দিতে চাই সেটা হলো যে ইনভেস্টমেন্টস ইন সোশ্যাল ডিটারমিনেন্টস অফ ম্যাটারনাল হেলথ, যেগুলোর মধ্যে আছে রিডিউসড ফার্টিলিটি। আমরা ফার্টিলিটি অনেক কমিয়েছি, 7 ছিল এই 1971-এ, তারপরে আমরা এখন 2.3-তে চলে আসছি। তারপরে এই মহিলাদের শিক্ষা এবং তাদের এম্পাওয়ারমেন্ট, তারপরে আমাদের অর্থনৈতিক অবস্থা উন্নতি হয়েছে, এবং ফাইনালি রোডস এন্ড ট্রান্সপোর্টেশন। এইসব কারণেই আসলে আমরা উই হ্যাভ বিন এবল টু রিডিউস ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটি। কিন্তু নেক্সট পেজ। কিন্তু কথা হলো যে আমরা যে এত অর্জন করলাম 2010 পর্যন্ত, তারপরে কেন এটা বন্ধ হয়ে গেল, কেন আর আমরা এগোতে পারছি না? আমার মনে হয় যে এই যে হেলথ সিস্টেম স্ট্রেংথেনের ব্যাপারটা যদি আমরা আলোচনা করতে চাই, তাহলে এই নেক্সট কয়েকটা স্লাইডে তার কিছুটা উত্তর পাওয়া যাবে। নেক্সট প্লিজ। আমরা জানি যে ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটির অনেকগুলো কজ আছে, কিন্তু আমরা এই 2010 এবং 2016 সাথে যদি আমরা একটু কম্পেয়ার করি, তাহলে দেখতে পাই যে আসলে যে দুইটা কজ সবচেয়ে বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, এই হেমোরেজ এবং অ্যাক্লেমশিয়া, সে দুইটার কিন্তু কোনো উন্নতি হয়নি। এবং আমরা জানি যে এই দুইটা জিনিস যেটা যেটা which are the main causes of maternal mortality বাংলাদেশে, সেগুলা কিন্তু খুব কষ্ট না করেও এইগুলাকে কন্ট্রোল করা যায়, কিন্তু আমরা সেখানে আটকে আছি আসলে। নেক্সট প্লিজ। কাজেই কথা হলো যে এই ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটি আমরা এত ইম্পর্টেন্ট জিনিস, আমরা এত অর্জন করেছি, কিন্তু এরপরে কেন আমরা আর এগোতে পারছি না? তার কারণগুলো কি আসলে? এবং সেটা ওই যে 2016-এর ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটি সার্ভে থেকে আমরা আসলে অনেক অনেক উত্তর পাই। নেক্সট প্লিজ। একটা হলো যে ফর এক্সাম্পল দি ইস্যু অফ ম্যানেজমেন্ট এবং গভর্নেন্স। আমরা জানি যে এই ইমার্জেন্সি অবস্ট্রাকটিভ কেয়ার যে ফ্যাসিলিটি গুলো আছে, সেগুলো থেকে মানুষ যদি ইয়ে পেতে চায়, বেনিফিট পেতে চায়, we need the doctors and the obstetricians and the anesthetists to be there 24/7, সব সময় থাকতে হবে। কিন্তু ওই সার্ভেতে আমরা দেখেছি only 39% ফ্যাসিলিটিস, যারা ফ্যাসিলিটি আছে যেখানে ডাক্তাররা উপস্থিত ছিল 24 ঘন্টা। কাজে যে এই যে 61% যেখানে ফ্যাসিলিটি যেখানে ডাক্তাররা নাই প্রয়োজনের বেলা, সেই ক্ষেত্রে আসলে আমরা এই ম্যাটারনাল হেলথের যে ইস্যুগুলো, সেগুলো আমরা কতটুকু ডিল করতে পারবো। এই WHO এই সার্ভিস রেডিনেস বলে একটা সর্ট অফ ইন্ডেক্স তৈরি করেছে। সেখানে ওরা দেখতে পাচ্ছে যে only 3% of the facilities have those service readiness available. তারপরে availability of the basic emergency obstetric care, সেখানে দেখতে পাচ্ছি আমরা প্রাইভেট এবং পাবলিকে about only 1/3 have those, only the basic, not to talk about the comprehensive emergency obstetric care. তারপরে এই যে দুইটা কারণ বললাম, এগুলোর জন্য যে এগুলো ডিল করতে হলে যে জিনিসগুলো দরকার, যেমন ইনজেকশন অক্সিটোসিন বা ম্যাগনেসিয়াম সালফেট বা মিসোপ্রস্টেল, এইগুলোরও অ্যাভেলেবিলিটি খুবই কম এখানে, যেটা দেখতে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে। এবং যেটা এই প্রাইভেট ফ্যাসিলিটির সমস্যা, আমরা জানি যে অনেকগুলো সমস্যা আছে, এবং আমাদের প্রাইভেট ফ্যাসিলিটি ইজ ভেরি মাচ আনরেগুলেটেড। 1982-তে একটা এই সরকারের একটা অ্যাক্ট হয়েছিল, তারপরে এইটার আর কোনো কিছু হয়নি। এবং আমরা এই কোভিড ক্রাইসিস আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে হাউ যে আনরেগুলেটেড একটা জিনিস যদি থাকে, তাহলে তারা হাউ ব্যাড দ্যাট ক্যান বি। এবং এই ম্যাটারনাল মর্টালিটির ক্ষেত্রে দেখছি যে সিজারিয়ান সেকশনের 79%ই হচ্ছে কিন্তু এই প্রাইভেট ক্লিনিক গুলাতে। এই পর্যন্ত আমরা অনেক কাজ করেছি টু প্রমোট institutional birth, কিন্তু এই পর্যন্ত আমরা only 50% of the births are now being done in an institution. তো এইসব কারণেই আসলে আমরা we are not being able to sort of reach or improve the maternal health further. এবং these are all related to the question of quality of care. It's all related to the issue of governance and also the health systems strengthening. Next please. So the challenge for us in the health systems strengthening is to move from low-hanging issues to higher-hanging issues. এবং সেটা করতে গিয়ে এখানে একটা কাইন্ড অফ এ 5 দফা এই প্রপোজিশন আছে যেটা আমরা 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 একটু চিন্তা করতে পারি আসলে। একটা হলো যে 2012 সালে বাংলাদেশ হেলথ ফাইন্যান্সিং স্ট্র্যাটেজি একটা তৈরি করা হয়েছিল, এবং সেখানে ক্লিয়ারলি বলা ছিল যে একটা উই হ্যাভ টু হ্যাভ এ ন্যাশনাল হেলথ সিকিউরিটি অফিস, যেটার মাধ্যমে ইট উইল বি পসিবল টু সেপারেট দি পারচেজিং অথরিটি ফ্রম দি প্রোভাইডার অথরিটি। এখন তো মিনিস্ট্রি অফ হেলথ সবকিছুই করে, কিন্তু আমরা দেখেছি যেসব দেশে এই অ্যাকাউন্টেবিলিটি তৈরি হয়েছে ফর দি হেলথ সেক্টর, ইট ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট দ্যাট দিস two functions are separated, and the creation of a NHSO is very important. আরেকটা হলো যে আমরা তো এখন আমাদের DGHS আছে যারা সবকিছু দেখে, পাবলিক হেলথ থেকে শুরু করে মেডিকেল সার্ভিসেস, but it is very important that we really think of separating public health from the overall medical services. এর কারণ হলো যে these two services deal with two kind of a different set of populations, এবং এদের জন্য এই ইস্যুগুলো ডিল করার জন্য যে হিউম্যান রিসোর্স দরকার, তারাও কিন্তু তাদের এডুকেশনাল ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড এবং তাদের ট্রেনিং সবকিছু আলাদা। কাজেই it will probably make more sense to really think about separating the public health functions from the overall medical services, so both can be benefited by the separation. আমরা জানি যে আমাদের প্রাইমারি হেলথ কেয়ারের অবস্থা সমস্যা সংকুল, এবং যেহেতু আমরা প্রাইমারি হেলথ কেয়ারে ইনভেস্ট করি নাই, সেজন্য আজকে সকালে একজন বলছিলেন, আমার মনে হয় যে আমাদের ডিজি সাহেব, যে এই কোভিড কালে এই শহরে হাসপাতালে 70% of the patients are from outside Dhaka বা from the rural areas. কিন্তু আমরা যদি if we had invested in primary health care, তাহলে কিন্তু এই এক্সট্রা চাপটা আমাদের এই শহরের হাসপাতালগুলোতে পড়তো না। আমরা জানি যে for the last many years only 25% of the budget is spent on primary health care. কিন্তু আমরা যদি যে কোনো দেশ which has been very successful, for example Thailand, ওই সব দেশে they spend about 50% of their money on primary health care. We have to really think about sort of increasing our investment in primary health care and increasing those facilities and everything that come with that. Obviously, Professor Barakat has been talking about the overall investment in health, that obviously we have to think about. একটা বিষয়ে আমার মনে হয় যে এই পাবলিক হেলথে যারা কাজ করে সবাই মোটামুটি একমত, সেটা হলো যে the need for having a permanent national health commission, যার দায়িত্ব হবে যে আমাদের যে স্বাস্থ্যের ভিশন আছে, সেই ভিশনটা কতটুকু অর্জন হচ্ছে এবং ইউনিভার্সাল হেলথ কভারেজটাকে কিভাবে সামনে নিয়ে যাওয়া যায়। সরি, এক্সকিউজ মি। এবং the last point is obviously to invest more in research, এবং এই সবগুলো যদি আমরা করতে পারি, and also we are able to get this involvement of the community, tahole will be slowly moving into universal health coverage. আমরা জানি যে আমরা এখন we are passing through the COVID crisis, এবং আমরা জানি যে every crisis has a silver lining, in the sense that সব ক্রাইসিসটাকে আমরা ইউজ করতে পারি to our future benefit. কাজে আমরা কি আসলে এই যে কোভিড ক্রাইসিসটা আছে সেটাকে can we really use it to reform our health system? আমরা জানি যে এই সরকার অনেক কিছু করেছে আসলে, এবং তারা যদি চায় তাহলে তারা অনেক বড় বড় কাজ করতে পারে। ইউনিভার্সাল হেলথ কভারেজ অথবা হেলথ সিস্টেম রিফর্ম, এটা একটা বিরাট কাজ। সবাই জানে যে এটা করতে গেলে we need the commitment of the highest authority. এবং ইউনিভার্সাল হেলথ কভারেজের ব্যাপারেও আমরা জানি যে এই সরকার অন্তত মুখে তারা দে হ্যাভ কমিটেড ফর দ্যাট। আমার মনে আছে যে 2019 সালে আমাদের মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী নিউ ইয়র্কে গেছিলেন ফর দি সামিট অন ইউনিভার্সাল হেলথ কভারেজ, এবং সেখানে উনি কমিট করে আসছেন যে বাংলাদেশ উইল বি মুভিং টু ইউনিভার্সাল হেলথ কভারেজ। কাজে আমার মনে হয় যে আমাদের এই ইউনিভার্সাল হেলথ কভারেজ এবং একটা টোটাল রিফর্মের দিকে যাওয়া দরকার, এবং কোভিড আমাদের আসলে সেই সুযোগটা তৈরি করে দিয়েছে। কাজেই উই হ্যাভ টু টেক অ্যাডভান্টেজ অফ দিস অ্যান্ড রিয়েলি ওয়ার্ক টুয়ার্ডস ডুইং হোয়াট ইজ needed for a future health system which will help us to achieve the SDGs by 2030, as well as আমরা যেটাকে বলছি রূপকল্প 2041, সেই ভিশন 2041, যার মাধ্যমে আমরা উন্নত দেশে পরিণত হব। সেই অবস্থা যদি আমরা যেতে চাই, তাহলে আসলে we have to think about what kind of health system we want. আমরা to be befitting to be a developed country. তো এই বলে আমি আমার বক্তব্য আমি শেষ করছি, এবং আমার মনে হয় যে it's been a real pleasure to be here and speak to you and also listen from you, and I thank the Public Health Association of Bangladesh for this opportunity. ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed Mustaq Raja Chaudhary, for your very elegant presentation and in-depth thoughts about health system strengthening in Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the close of the session. I will just make a small, I think our co-chair, Professor Dr. Abdul Rahman, the former director NIPSAM, I would request him to say a few words, and then after him I will conclude. Professor Abdul Rahman, co-chair.
Thank you, our chairman. Are you hearing? Everybody hearing me?
Yeah, we can hear you
shortly,
very well.
sir.
So thank you. Short. So I just thanks our chair and also the three prominent speaker who deliberate there or present their papers, the financing, healthcare financing, then human resource in the health sectors by Humayun Kabir, and also health system strengthening, Dr. Ahmed Mustaq Raja Chaudhary. All three are very elegant papers and gave us many the direction on their deliberation. So I will not take time. I thanks all our three speakers. They work hard for their slide, but due to it is our limitation of time, they cannot explain all the things which they are expected. And I also thanks our chair, Dr. Mohammad Shahidullah, who with his busy schedule, very busy schedule, he attended our Public Health Association conference, but I will not think him as one of the public health facilitator in Bangladesh. So in few words, I thanks all of them, and our chairman will say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Anwar Hussain. Rightly you mentioned, I'm no more a clinical person now. I love public health a lot. At the very closing remarks,
Dear participants, now just we are almost at the end of our session. Now I would like to request the Honorable Chair of the session, President of Bangladesh Medical and Dental Council, Professor Dr. Mohammad Shahidullah sir, to sum up and deliver his concluding remarks on this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Anwar Hussain, the Secretary General of Public Health Association of Bangladesh. I really enjoyed this particular plenary session one. The reason being that we had three elegant presentations from Professor Abul Barakat, Professor Mr. Humayun Kabir, and Dr. Ahmed Mushtaq Raja Chaudhry. I'm not going to tell much on that because after each deliberation, I said few sentences. One thing I like to say that public health, which we are nowadays talking about a lot, is very crucial in achieving SDG, in achieving universal health coverage. Without public health is in place, we won't be able to reach either SDG or universal health coverage, that's for sure. But unfortunately, we didn't put priority in public health in the past. Kind of it was a neglected one. But COVID-19, which is a pandemic, has brought crisis for the whole world. But I always say, sometimes there is a silver lining. That is, besides this crisis, there is an opportunity to unfold the weakness of health system, not only in Bangladesh, even in the developed countries. And this has shown the importance of public health. For that, if we just organize this kind of meeting once or in a month or year or twice in a year, it's not going to work. For my personal feeling, we have to embed the importance of public health, undergraduate education, in the post-graduation education, then later on to chip into the health system and health service. To start with undergraduate, I am going to give you a very good information today. I'm still the president, and it's one of the long time that I'm running the presidency because of this COVID pandemic, that the subject which is known as community medicine in undergraduate, there has been a demand that whether we can rename it. And for the first time in the last executive committee, we have changed the name of community medicine to community medicine and public health in undergraduate. And this will be put to the annual general meeting, and I'm sure that it's going to be passed, because tagging the nomenclature of public health to the undergraduate, they will be actually knowing the importance of public health from their undergraduate medical education, and then also to emphasize in the postgraduate and later on in the health system. So with that note, I like to thank the president of Bangladesh Public Health Association of Bangladesh, Professor Shah Munir, the ex-director, my elder brother, inviting me, communicating with me several times, Professor Abdur Rahman, the ex-director of NIPSAM, he also contacted me several times, and our Secretary General Anwar Hussain giving me the opportunity to chair the session. But I think if we get more time, we can hear, the kind of more thoughts from our very learned speakers. With that note, I'd like to thank the organizers of Public Health Association of Bangladesh. Thank you. And close the session, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inspirational speech. Our respected guests, speakers, and participants. And this is the end of our plenary session 1. I'd like to request you to all to join our next parallel session 1. Thank you very much again. Thank you.